Imagine a world where chaos failed, where dragons still herald the morning with their titanic songs and continue their dance upon this stage we call Earth. A world of fire-walking giants, majestic lords of the skies, and oceanic leviathans. A world where death from above never came to be. Join us on the safari of a lifetime as we see animals from a time before man in a world very much like our own. Welcome to the ruling era. Welcome, dear listeners, to the Arcoscene. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the expedition. This is the Arcoscene Podcast, Episode 4, with your host, Avis Rex. Our schedule is still a bit chaotic, and we give our most sincere apologies for that. Once we are set on a more consistent timing, we will let you know. More content has been recently in development, and due to new blood, we are getting more and more. Some policy changes are on the way as well, which will hopefully boost activity and bring more content for us to present to you. Stay tuned for more episodes regarding those, and join our Discord to see our concept art, work in progress showcases, stories, or just ask questions. Or maybe even just come in and chat and see how we're doing. And we would love to have you. Now, on to the expedition. Today we are discussing a runner-up for finalization, the process where everyone within the project, including our consultants, look over the documents, peer review it, and then we consider it done so we can move on to the next topic. And this is one of those that we are currently considering making concrete. Once it is, we will gladly be showing off more canon content, so expect a possible correction episode in the future. Today's topic, though, at hand is the Sincero Venatoriforms. They are seabirds, herds, and some freshwater birds within this world version of the Neo-Aves, the Nova-Aves. As such, they are as close to birds like what we are familiar with as you could possibly get. They are very much different from the likes of Ichthyornis or Hesperornis, more primitive birds. Enigma Venator is the most basal relative of these animals. They are not within either of the two larger groups that are more advanced, and due to its own derived nature, it's not that much good of a representative of the ancestral taxon. That said, there is some traits that are more primitive, so scientists could get somewhat of a window of what the older ancestral animal would have looked like, but it has its own adaptations that are unique to it. Once we go over the more advanced groups, you'll understand why. It resembles shoebill storks but it has 3 hook-like points on its beak that allow it to grip or even kill smaller prey. Imagine the hook on a eagle, for example, or the points on a falcon's beak. Now imagine that almost dagger-like. It will happily strut around finding its prey within the forests of the Drake Isles and Antarctica. The Drake Isles we will possibly expand on in a future episode, but to give a brief rundown, it is a island chain unique to the Arcocene between South America and Antarctica, and it allows for a lot of island hopping. It also has its own unique ecosystem where a lot of the Venatore and other aerial animals consider it home. Like, imagine offshore islands where you would see, like, gannets or seagulls, or way up north, puffins and such. You'll get the idea of this kind of ecosystem. Uh, that said, Enigma Venator kind of hangs around more the islands that are more forested, where, like, dinosaurs and other animals could be found, as well as the forests and wetlands of Antarctica itself. Venatorids are essentially what happens when a frigate bird and a giant petrel are made into one bird. The largest example of these animals is Tolkienopteryx, which is named after the Tolkien family, Christopher Tolkien, and the famous J.R.R. Tolkien. Fittingly, it is named such because it is the largest flying bird in the project so far. Given the giant eagles that Mr. Tolkien wrote about, it appeared it was fitting. It was very fitting. Now, Venatorids are, as I mentioned with the two birds that they are similar to, they are something that most animals dread seeing. Their names mean Ashen Hunters, and every single thing in the area that they live fear those black and gray ashen outlines along the sky. They are a smart and social group of birds with cooperative hunting and cooperative parenting. They are nice to each other, not so much to everything else. And with Tolkienopteryx being the largest of them, it kind of makes sure nothing else in the sky forgets about it. Even the largest pterosaurs, much larger than it is, dread seeing those things and will gladly turn around and fly away. So, since Venatorids are seabirds, they are more oceanic than the other group of birds in his family. And though they do steal and harass other animals, they will steal fish from other pterosaurs and birds and such, or they will go right on in and steal carcasses from other scavenging animals. They are not as vulturine as one may assume. They are also very active cooperative hunters with, if the prey is light enough, they will drop it into their rookeries for their chicks, her mates, their family members to feed on. So whenever you see these animals hunting, they don't hunt for just themselves. In fact, you could probably tell a Venatorid rookery from, say, Ichthyornids or Neopteranodontids. You could tell that rookery belongs to Venatorid because of how many bones are all over the place. If the animal didn't die from the initial attacks that these animals inflict upon it, the sudden impact that gravity gives it upon hitting the ground, that will likely do the trick. And if not, then the children, the mates, the so on and so forth of these animals will likely finish it off. They're a very, very rough thing to observe, and there will likely be a few stories of our explorers tackling the issue of trying to observe these animals without they themselves needing to go to the hospital. Um, so there are two genera within the Venatorids. You got Venator itself, and then Tolkanopteryx itself. Um, each one has 3 species, all found within the southern oceans, Antarctica, Australia, New Zealand, and the southern world fears these things. The other group is much more forgiving and honestly a lot nicer to look at as well. The Platyrostra ornithidae, this is your ibises or your spoonbills, or at least the mimics of them in this world. So we have... My apologies, folks. I am reading over these to both refresh my memory and to also make sure you get as accurate of information as we can give at this time. With this project, we wish to educate as well as entertain, and thus just want to make sure it's all right for you folks out there. So we have Macropteryx, a omnivorous wading bird that can be found throughout Australia and South America, a little bit in Africa as well, and New Zealand. Its distribution is a little odd, and it's more the ibis beaked birds. They are happy eating insects, small fish, seeds, fruits, depending on where it's found. As for habitat, they are found within wetlands, floodplains, and grasslands, so you would see it in a lot of open country. The Phylohadros family, that genus, its appearance, depending on the species, is unique. Some of them have more flamboyant feathering. Others are kind of bare bones, as it were. As of its name, Phylohadros, they normally follow hadrosaurs. They are the ones that will be snapping up bugs, lizards, small mammals, seeds, nuts, anything that the larger dinosaurs disturb or unearth. They will normally go after it. They might even land on the animals themselves and peck at whatever may be disturbing the hides of these animals. That said, their beaks are more sickle-shaped, much more downturned than in Macropteryx. And they use these to kind of beak shut and kind of impale an animal, a prey item, before they swallow it. they're kind of similar to hornbills in that regard. Depending on where they are found, they could feed on fruits, eggs, insects, lizards. Um, some of them, such as Philohadros plumicata, uh, does not have a as curved beak, but it has a much more flamboyant tail. This difference in anatomy might be because of competition with pterosaurs of the Tapajarids and the Azhdarchid families. More on those in a bit. Hit possibly another episode, folks. Um, Another one is happily munching on crabs within the Drake Isles, and that one is a little, due to the competition within the Drake Isles, that one is more specialized for. The sickle beak still is in use, it's just more reinforced. And Philohadros can be found mostly in South America, with one in North America due to the interchanges within the Pliocene, or due to the fact that they could fly, they may have gotten to North America much sooner. And then we have the one that I mentioned, the crab eater, in the Drake Isles. The animal that gives its name to the entire group, Platyrostris ornis itself, is your spoonbill looking animal. It is native mostly to New Zealand and Australia, and it has some unique traits. It's one of the few that they produce a kind of keratinous crest during breeding season. This is based on pelicans of our world, where during certain breeding seasons, the males will produce a keratinous crest along their beak. They would also get more vibrant feathers. The feathers around their head will get much fluffier, like this very flamboyant ruff or frill. And the bigger the crest, the more flamboyant the feathers, the more healthy the animal is, and the ladies like that. So, once the once breeding season is over, they will lose the crest. The feathers will molt. They would get their duller but still flamboyant colors, and possibly go their separate ways or parent right together. This is still a work in progress that we are going to expand on at a much later date. Their beaks, being more spoonbill shaped, is full of nerves so that they can feed on shrimp, worms, crayfish, small crabs, maybe slower moving fish, eels, whatever they can catch in that wider beak. Now, a bunch of these animals they're united in the fact that they're still very leggy, the whole group, which in the case of Venaturids, that might be a little bit of a problem for them, but they make it work. The Platyrostris ornithids, as they are wading animals, their legs are much longer. And so far, that is what we have for these animals. If you want to see more, if you want to see pictures of these animals as well, where we have some in our work in progress showcase, um, you can go over to our Discord. Her link will be in the description, and if you have any questions about these animals, I would be happy to answer them. We are constantly at work, so any kind of details that we have, if we will happily give to you. Once these animals are finalized, that will be the canon stuff. That'll be the finished product. Um, so that would be it for today. Be safe out there in your explorations, and take care.